Sit with me in this cinema. Select your snack, silence your cell phones, and let me set the scene. It wasn't exactly a year ago. The fear of hearing those dreadful words as a worried dad. Sir, he's passed. The next week the hearse was carrying the casket. Now on his first anniversary, he's got his own plans on how should the service be. He just got back from Mississippi, picking up a band from some old school hippies who jumped at the chance to chant and strike back at a cancer-causing power plant. He rode in on a ride with a rhododendron on the side on a road to vengeance, and his eyes told a story of a 40-story building in the city ran by a committee of 6 key figures making 6 figures legally with the help of lawyers who toyed with the laws and spoke legalese. If you could understand them, you can understand a scam being ran on a man with the son dead and his band being torn apart. Feel the pain of having the son slain by a corporate game, off a game who would gang up on anyone who tried to shift the blame on them or want a minute to shame. So dad loads the band with C4, said it'll be war before I detour from my plan up. Even the score, it's not right. At a stoplight, a class trip passed his whip about 50 children on a seasonal tour through a city building he had never seen him before, except one of the youngsters did remind him of the face from his past that he couldn't put behind him. The light changed, did his sight change? It might have, but the slight pain in his heart was amplified. Tonight we commemorate the slain. It looks like rain, and he knew that his hands were tied, cause even though justice belongs in the hands of God, he was tied and decided to give him a hand with the job. He cried,
where did the pain go? After the rain was the rainbow.
Nobody knows, nobody knows, no.
How does he just let the pain go? If people get told they know,
they've done,
maybe they won't.
and he knew that his hands were tied, pedal to the metal. Time to settle what could be settled by leveling the building of these devils and bringing it down to the ground level, hoping the sound echoes and justice could be found amongst the pebbles. No sign of cold feet, he had been going over it in his head the whole week. Around the clock, he's just working up his nerves as he swerved for the 3rd time around the block. The 4th time's the charm. As he approached, right by the door inside he saw a ghost. This can't be. Was this the missing member to his family? Could have sworn it was his beloved son. Of course it wasn't, so why was it getting warm inside his heart? The same class that had passed him before was standing right here before him. Voices, choices, do I let this young boy live? But if he lives, they all live. And Pop wasn't trying to forgive, cause this was public enemy number 1. They hadn't even repented for what they had done. But it's strange, he said he would let him live in the loving memory of his son. Now before we go off the deep end, with everybody's eyes leaking, this was more than just a mere tearjerker. Right here is where I need ears to perk up. Take what you were just feeling for that father and multiply it by the millions. Consider the saga of God's love for this world that he made, and how even though we misbehave, it's still God's will that all men should be saved. And you ain't gotta be the corporates in this story to be a culprit and have to face the jury and cope with the fury of God's wrath on sin for destroying the joy of God's glory. But what if God had devised a plan so that when he couldn't find joy in man, he could still find joy in one and end whatever this one had done? So when God comes looking for righteousness in us and finds none, he saves sin-sick sinners through his sincere love when he finds his son in us and us in his son.
Where did the pain go? After the rain was the rainbow.
Somebody knows, yeah, somebody knows, yeah.
How does he just let the pain go? If people get told they know,
What he's done,
maybe they won't.
Now you might have to go back and watch this movie a couple more times to really appreciate what just happened here. But I just want you to know, if God looks at us and he's pleased, it won't be because he's seeing you or because he's seeing me. It's only when he looks and he sees his son that he calls off the assault. For our faults,
Where does the pain
for our
go?
crimes.
After the rain was the rainbow.